Merry Christmas. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you especially to our friends out there in the narthex. God bless you for taking one for the team. We appreciate you. Thank you for being here. So every year at Christmas time, my mother would wear this pin that said, "Jesus is the reason for the season." Have you heard that before? Jesus is the reason for the season. And it's true. Absolutely. Christmas is about the birth of the Christ. But Christmas is about a lot more than just Jesus. It may be a strange thing to hear, but Christmas is about the universe. The birth of the Christ is about the entire universe. The Gospel of John tells us that all things that exist came into being through the Christ. That what the Christ is it's God's vision for life. We have a God of life, a God who builds life and sustains life and perpetuates life from generation to generation. and in order for there to be life, there had to be a universe. There had to be stars, right? Stars are the engine of the universe. All matter is created in stars. And then a star explodes and that matter gets sent out across the universe and it begins to coagulate and come together and planets are formed. Without planets, there can't be life. And so like our planet here, it formed together and then water started to accumulate on the earth. Without water, there wouldn't be life. And so the water accumulated. And then in the water, microbes began to develop. And out of the microbes, then we started to get plants and animals. And then finally, human beings showed up. But if it weren't for all of these things I've mentioned, stars and planets and water and microbes, we wouldn't be here. And so the Christ came into the world. The source of life came into the world. But the source of life didn't come as an eagle, because eagles already know how to fly. The source of life didn't come as a dolphin, because dolphins already know how to swim. The source of life came as a human being, because we need to be shown what it is to be fully human. We don't get it. We miss the mark a lot. We had to be shown what it is to be children of God. Just as Jesus is the Son of God, we too are children of God, and had to be shown what it is to live as children of God, what it looks like to participate with God in building and sustaining and perpetuating life. And so this little human being is laid in a manger. It's a feeding trough, right? Probably covered in cow slobber, right? Jesus is laid in that. And I know we have a Christmas song that says he didn't cry. I'm sure he cried. I'm sure he cried. I'm sure he soiled diapers. He needed to be fed. He needed people to care for him. And he grew up. And he began to show us what God's vision was for humanity. What it is that we're called to be as children of God, as human beings in this world. He had tremendous gifts and abilities. He could walk on water. He could heal the sick. He could turn water into wine. He could raise the dead, but he never used his gifts. He never used his blessings for himself. He knew that every gift and ability he had was to be poured out for the sake of the world. It was to be poured out to help others, to serve others, to care for others. When he saw somebody sick, he couldn't just walk by. He had to heal them. When he saw somebody hungry, he couldn't just ignore them. He fed them. When he saw somebody who was pushed aside and excluded, he welcomed them and he treated them as family. You see, we're interconnected as human beings. We're interconnected with the creation. We're interconnected with God. Isn't it interesting that in the Christmas story, there's a star, right? There's a star. The stars are participating. In the Christmas story, there are animals, right? The sheep and whatever other animals you have in the nativity scene, there are animals. And in the Christmas story, there were people, not just people from Israel or Palestine, People came from around the world, people who had seen the star, the Magi, the wise men. They knew something was happening in the universe, and they came. And God sent Jesus into the world to show us, most importantly, how to be kind to one another, how to forgive one another, how to be compassionate and gentle with one another. Because later in his life, because he took a stand against the power structures, he said to the people of power, he said, you're using your power for yourself. You're not serving the hungry. You're not serving the poor. You're not raising up those who are suffering and those in need. You're not living the way God created you to live. They arrested Jesus. They beat him. They humiliated him. They mocked him and scorned him. They drove nails through his hands and his feet. And you know what he didn't do? He didn't wound back. He showed us as human beings how to respond to hatred, how to respond to rejection, how to respond to ridicule, how to respond to oppression. He didn't wound back. He didn't use his fist. He didn't use a sword. And he didn't use his words to wound those who were wounding him. He showed us how to be human, even in the worst moments. And as he died on that cross, he trusted that the God of life, the God who sent him, was with him. And that what happened in that cross, that moment of suffering and pain and even death, would not have the last word. And on the third day, God raised Jesus from the dead to show us all that love and life win, because we have a God of life. And God uses love to build and sustain and perpetuate life. And just as Jesus is the light of the world, he tells us we're the light of the world. He tells us that God sent us the same way that God sent him. He tells us that we have the capacity to heal. We have the capacity to feed. We have the capacity to raise up. We have the capacity to accompany and welcome. And that's what it means to be fully human. To be instruments of love and compassion and mercy and forgiveness. Our world is terribly divided. It looks like violence and power win. But our God says, no, don't lose heart. Don't lose heart. Because God has sent us into the world in this time and this place to be light and love for others. And so I pray for you and for your family on this Christmas day, that Christmas may not be something that happens one day a year. The Christmas is not just something that you celebrate with some good food and some presents, but the Christ Mass, the breaking in of the Christ into this world, may break into your life every single day. And that you see each day as an opportunity to share the gifts and the blessings God has given you, to care for others, to serve others, to live generously, and to show the world that love and life win. God loves each of you, and I do too. Merry Christmas.